The rooftop wind howled against the silence between them. Ji-yoon's eyes were red, her fingers trembling as she clutched the edge of the diary he now held. Kang Min-seok stood still, reading the words that were never meant to be read. His voice was quiet, but it cut through everything she had built to protect herself. Have you loved me silently this whole time? The world stopped. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Because 3 years of unspoken love, of gazes buried behind books and words hidden in pages, had been stolen in one moment, by the only person she thought would protect her. If only she had spoken sooner. Keep watching to see how one invisible girl's silence changed everything. And what happens when the truth can no longer hide. 3 years ago, on the very first day of high school, Seo Ji-yoon walked into class 1B and sat by the window, second seat from the back. Nobody noticed. Not when she pulled out her notebook. Not when she tied her hair neatly. Not even when she smiled nervously at the girl next to her. But she noticed him. Kang Min-seok walked in late, hair slightly tousled, a bandage on his hand from something he would later laugh off as by clumsiness. He bowed to the teacher, apologized, and took the empty seat in front of her. He smelled like rain and pine soap. She remembered that for no reason at all. From that moment, Ji-yoon never missed a thing. The way he tapped his pencil when he solved problems. The way he nodded slowly when he understood something. The way he looked at people. Not just looked, but truly saw them. Everyone loved Min-seok. He was smart, kind, always smiling. Teachers adored him. Girls giggled around him. He wasn't the loudest or the flashiest. He was just warm. And Ji-yoon? She watched. Always watched. In her notebooks, alongside math formulas and history notes, there were pages, dozens of them, filled with little thoughts about Min-seok. Not love letters. Just feelings. He looked tired today. I hope he sleeps well. He smiled at the new kid. That made me smile too. Does anyone else see how gentle his eyes are? She never told anyone, except one person. Soo-mi. At first, Soo-mi was warm. Pretty, funny, with a loud laugh that made everyone turn. She noticed Ji-yoon on the first week of school and started talking to her. Just like that. She sat beside her, shared snacks, asked about her drawings. Ji-yoon opened up slowly, carefully. By second year, they were inseparable. Soo-mi made Ji-yoon feel like she was someone. And when Ji-yoon finally whispered her secret about Min-seok, Soo-mi only smiled and said, I knew it. You're so obvious when you look at him. Ji-yoon froze. Is it bad? No, Soo-mi said. It's cute, really cute. And for the first time, Ji-yoon believed maybe her silent love could one day become something real. Third year arrived. The final year. One last chance. Ji-yoon sat in the library, tracing her fingers across the worn edges of her diary. She had written a letter, not one she planned to give, but one she needed to write. Dear Min-seok, it began. This isn't a confession. It's just everything I never said. There were no grand declarations, just quiet truths, like how she admired his kindness, how his voice calmed her even when he wasn't talking to her, and how watching him made her believe that good people really do exist. She showed it to Soo-mi. Not the whole thing, just a page. A page where she wrote about wanting to confess at the school festival. The lights, the music, the courage she would borrow from the moment. Soo-mi had gasped. You're really going to do it? I think I have to, Ji-yoon whispered. It's our last year. Soo-mi hugged her, laughed, told her she'd help pick the perfect moment. He's going to fall for you, Ji. I just know it. Ji-yoon smiled, believed it, let herself dream, for once. The festival was 2 weeks away. Ji-yoon planned it all. She would wait until the final performance, when the sky was full of lights and the music faded. She would pull Min-seok aside, hand him the card she had written, and tell him everything. It was terrifying, but it was also hers, until the day it wasn't. The morning of the festival, Soo-mi was acting strange. She clung to Ji-yoon's arm more than usual. She asked weird questions. What if someone else liked Min-seok too? Would you be mad? Ji-yoon blinked. Why? No reason. Just curious. Ji-yoon laughed nervously. I guess I can't be mad at something that's not mine. Soo-mi's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. By sunset, the festival had reached its peak. The school courtyard sparkled with fairy lights. Music blasted from the stage. Students danced, shouted, laughed. Ji-yoon stood at the edge of the crowd, her hand gripping the small envelope she had sealed with trembling fingers. Her heart raced. She searched for him, Min-seok, standing by the fountain, talking to a group of classmates. She took a step, then another, and then she heard it. Min-seok, wait. Soo-mi's voice. Everyone turned. She ran up to him, her face flushed, her smile dazzling. Ji-yoon froze. Soo-mi laughed. I know this is crazy, but I've liked you for a long time. Since first year, actually. Ji-yoon's breath caught. No. Soo-mi continued, louder now. I love how you tap your pencil when you're thinking. How you smile at everyone like they matter. I notice all of it. Every word, word for word. From Ji-yoon's diary. Min-seok blinked, surprised. You noticed all that? Ji-yoon couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The world around her was spinning. The music blurred. The lights blurred. She took one step back, then another. The envelope slipped from her fingers. She turned and ran. Through the crowd, past the lights, into the dark hallway that led behind the gym. Her chest ached. Her legs burned. But she didn't stop until she reached the old art room. She closed the door, collapsed, and cried. 3 years of love. 3 years of words she never spoke. All stolen. All gone. And the worst part? Soo-mi had smiled when she looked back. She knew, and she did it anyway. The lights of the festival still flickered in the distance, but Ji-yoon sat alone in the dark art room, staring at the dusty floor tiles like they might rearrange themselves and make this day make sense. Her fingertips dug into her palms, her heart beat loud in her ears. The tears had dried, but the ache had only grown. Somewhere outside, Soo-mi was probably smiling in front of everyone, holding his attention with Ji-yoon's words. Words that were never meant to be spoken by anyone else. For the first time in her life, Ji-yoon hated being quiet. 2 weeks earlier, Ji-yoon had stood in the school's rooftop garden, wind tangling her hair as she tried to convince herself it was possible. You're really going to do it? Soo-mi had asked, her tone playful, but her eyes too still. Ji-yoon nodded, cheeks burning. I think it's time. I mean, if I don't, I'll regret it forever. Soo-mi smiled, stepping closer, brushing a speck of lint off Ji-yoon's blazer. Then let's make it perfect. That afternoon, they planned everything. Where Min-seok would be during the festival, how Ji-yoon would casually walk up, what she would say. Ji-yoon was terrified, but also hopeful. She practiced in front of the mirror, rewrote her words 5 times. Each draft softer, more honest. The final one, the one she sealed in the envelope, read, Min-seok, I do not need you to be perfect. I just want to be someone who sees you, even when no one else is looking. It was simple, not dramatic, just real. Soo-mi had read it and said, this is so you, he's going to fall for this. Ji-yoon had smiled so wide, her cheeks hurt. Now, that same page was probably folded in someone else's pocket. That same line whispered by someone with perfect makeup and a spotlight smile. The art room was still. The only sound was a faint echo of the festival music. Ji-yoon sat by the broken easel, hugging her knees. She was invisible again. Only this time it hurt more because she had dared to hope. The next day, the whispers had already started. Did you hear? Soo-mi confessed to Min-seok at the festival. They say he smiled but didn't answer. Do you think they're dating now? Ji-yoon walked to the hall like a ghost, the words bouncing off her skin like cold rain. She avoided eye contact, kept her head down. Even in class, She barely looked up when Min-seok walked in. She had mastered the art of hiding in plain sight. It was easier than facing the questions, especially from Soo-mi, because Soo-mi acted like nothing had happened. Gee, did you go home early? I could not find you after confession. Ji-yoon looked at her, heart twisting. Yeah, I was tired. Soo-mi linked their arms. You missed everything. Everyone was screaming. It was kind of amazing. Ji-yoon forced a smile. I bet. And Min-seok? He looked so shocked. But like, the cute kind of shocked, you know? Ji-yoon nodded, her ears ringing. Every word felt like a stab. That night, at home, Ji-yoon opened her drawer. Inside were all her old diaries. Pages and pages written across years, about small things, big feelings, fears, dreams. Most of them about him. She flipped to a page from their second year. The first time he helped her pick up her books when they fell. He had smiled and said, You always carry too much. Be careful, she had written. How can someone's voice sound like a soft song? Now, even that memory felt stolen. She closed the diary and shoved it back. But another one fell. The current one. The one she had shared with Soo-mi. Ji-yoon stared at it, and for the first time in her life, she felt something hotter than sadness. She felt anger. Soo-mi had lied, smiled to her face, then taken everything. Why? Did she ever really care? The next day, Ji-yoon avoided them both. Min-seok tried to catch her eye during group study, but she looked away. Her chest felt too full, every breath tight. In the cafeteria, Soo-mi sat beside her like usual, but now Ji-yoon saw it. The way she talked louder when Min-seok passed by, the way she laughed a little too hard, the way she glanced sideways to see if Ji-yoon noticed. She noticed. She noticed everything, and that hurt more than anything. A week later, Soo-mi cornered her near the lockers. Hey, are you mad at me or something? Ji-yoon blinked. Why would I be? Soo-mi pouted. You've been so cold lately. I guess I've been tired. Come on, Ji, she said, voice sugary. You're not still upset about me liking Min-seok, are you? Ji-yoon's mouth opened slightly. Soo-mi tilted her head. You never even told me you were serious about him. The words hit her like a slap. Ji-yoon stared at her. You read my diary. Soo-mi shrugged. You let me? Not to copy it. Soo-mi smiled. I didn't copy. I was inspired. Ji-yoon felt her hand shake. That wasn't yours to take. But you never said anything, Ji. You've liked him for 3 years and did nothing. Life doesn't wait for quiet ones. Ji-yoon's heart pounded. So you thought you deserved him more? I thought I could make it real, Soo-mi said softly. And I did. That night, Ji-yoon cried again. But not because she was sad. Because she had never felt more awake. She looked in the mirror. Pale face. Tired eyes. A girl who had waited for the right time for so long. She forgot time never stops. It was not just about love anymore. It was about reclaiming her voice. 2 days later, she returned to school with her hair tied differently. Small change, but enough for people to notice. She started answering in class, volunteering, smiling at classmates. And when Min-seok held the door open and said, Good morning, she looked into his eyes for the first time in weeks and said, Good morning, Min-seok. It was small, but it was real. He blinked, surprised, then smiled. Nice hair. Ji-yoon walked past, heart thudding. But for the first time, it was not from fear. It was from something else. Hope. Ji-yoon always thought heartbreak would feel like a sudden collapse, a sharp, dramatic moment that would steal her breath and leave her crying on the floor. But it did not happen like that. It was slower, colder, like waking up each day in a world that had moved on without you. Ever since the festival, Ji-yoon had been drifting. She went to school, took notes, ate lunch, nodded when spoken to. But everything felt muted, like her soul had been turned down to a whisper. And no one noticed, except him. Kang Min-seok had not been the same either. At first, he smiled like usual, said his hellos, but something in his eyes was different, distant. He would glance at Ji-yoon in the hallway, watch her in class, hesitate when Soo-mi grabbed his arm. And Ji-yoon, she noticed it all, but she could not bring herself to hope. Not anymore. The Monday after the festival, Soo-mi walked into class with a giant pink hair clip and a smile even brighter than usual. "Good morning," she sang, skipping over to Min-seok's desk. "Did you miss me over the weekend?" Min-seok chuckled politely. "I was studying. Did not do much." "You worked too hard," she pouted, sitting beside her without asking. "I made a playlist for you. Want it?" Ji-yoon watched from across the room. She had not spoken to Soo-mi in days. Every attempt Soo-mi made to act like nothing had happened only made her silence louder. At lunch, Soo-mi called out to her, "Ji-yoon, come eat with us." She looked up. Min-seok was already sitting at the table. Ji-yoon shook her head gently. "I have homework." The truth was, she could not sit across from him and pretend to be okay. She had spent too many nights staring at the ceiling, asking herself the same question. What would have happened if she had spoken first? Would it have mattered, or would she have still been invisible? Days passed. On a rainy Thursday, Min-seok finally approached her. He found her alone in the library, as always. She was at the far end, hidden between tall shelves, a physics book open but unread. He sat across from her, without saying anything. Ji-yoon looked up, startled. He smiled gently. "Hey!" "Hi," she said, trying not to let her voice shake. There was a long pause. The rain tapped gently on the windows. "I feel like you've been avoiding me," he said. Ji-yoon blinked. "No, You're not in the cafeteria anymore. You don't look up in class. You don't even laugh at Soo-mi's bad jokes." She looked down. "I've been busy." Min-seok studied her. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but her eyes betrayed her. He leaned in slightly. "You know, I never really gave Soo-mi an answer." That made her look up. She confessed, and I was surprised, but I didn't say yes. I just smiled. People assumed. Ji-yoon felt her heartbeat speed up. Min-seok hesitated. She said something about noticing small things. About how I tap my pencil when I'm thinking. That I smile like everyone matters. I mean, those aren't things I talk about. Ji-yoon froze. "Honestly," he continued, "it felt like someone had been watching me for a long time." She gripped the edge of the table. But then, a few days ago, she dropped something. A notebook. I picked it up before she noticed. Ji-yoon stopped breathing. "It wasn't hers," he said quietly. "It had your name inside." No. Her eyes widened. "You read it?" "Just a page," he said. "I was going to give it back. But then I saw your handwriting. And I realized—" He looked straight into her. "Those weren't Soo-mi's words, were they?" Ji-yoon's throat tightened. She shook her head, slowly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for anyone to see that. It wasn't supposed to come out like that." Min-seok leaned back, exhaling slowly. "How long?" Ji-yoon's voice cracked. "Since first year." He blinked. 3 years. She nodded. The silence between them felt heavier than ever. Min-seok looked down at the table. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Ji-yoon tried to speak, but no words came. Because she did not have an answer that made sense. Because she had always believed it was safer to feel in secret than to risk being seen and not loved back. Because she had waited too long, and now it was too late. Min-seok stood slowly. "Can I keep the notebook?" "Just for a while." She nodded again. He walked away without saying anything else. And Ji-yoon sat there, breaking all over again. That night, Soo-mi messaged her. "Soo-mi, hey, did Min-seok talk to you today?" Ji-yoon, "Yes." "Soo-mi?" He seems distant. "What did you say to him?" Ji-yoon, "Nothing that wasn't already mine." Soo-mi, You're really going to ruin everything because of a crush? Ji-yoon, no. I'm just done letting people walk over me. Soo-mi, you think he's going to pick you over me? Ji-yoon, I don't think anything. But at least now he knows the truth. Soo-mi left the conversation. Ji-yoon closed her phone, pulled her blanket up to her chin, and cried until sleep took her. But this time, there was no shame in her tears. Just grief for all the time she had lost in silence. The next morning, something had shifted. Min-seok walked into class with a quiet expression. He barely looked at Soo-mi. When she approached him with a drink, he said, "No, thank you," and returned to his seat. Soo-mi's face twitched. Ji-yoon watched from a window. This time, she did not look away when Min-seok glanced over. He held her gaze for a long second, then smiled, and something in her chest cracked open. Maybe, just maybe it was not too late. The notebook was heavier than it looked. Min-seok sat on his bed, the diary open across his lap. The cover was soft, worn at the corners. The pages inside were filled with neat handwriting, some with doodles in the margins, some with coffee stains, others pressed flat, as if they had been opened and read again and again. He had read almost all of it now. 3 years. 3 years of quiet admiration, of scribbled thoughts that never asked for anything in return, a love so silent it became invisible, but not anymore. He turned to the first page again. Today, he helped the teacher carry the chairs. He didn't know anyone was watching. He ran his finger along the sentence, the smallest smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He had always wondered if someone truly saw him, not just the student council president or the honor roll boy, but him. He just never thought it would be the girl who sat by the window, second seat from the back, the one who always blended into the walls, until now, the girl who saw everything, and never asked to be seen, until it was stolen from her. The next day, Min-seok walked into school early. The courtyard was still quiet. Dew clung to the grass. His steps echoed in the hall as he made his way to the old music room, the one Ji-yoon used when she wanted to be alone. He had heard from a classmate that she sometimes wrote there before class. He pushed the door gently, and there she was. Ji-yoon sat at the piano, not playing, just resting her fingers on the keys like she was waiting for the music to come back. She turned at the sound of the door. Min-seok lifted the diary in his hand. "You forgot something." Ji-yoon froze. "I thought you were keeping it." "I was," he said, "but I think I need to return it, because some of the words inside, I want to hear them from you, not from paper." Her breath caught. He stepped closer. "Was it all real? Everything you wrote?" She nodded. "You really noticed all those things about me?" "Yes." "For how long?" Ji-yoon's voice cracked. "Since the first day of school." Min-seok laughed softly, not mockingly, more in disbelief. "And you never said a word." "I was scared," she said, "that it wouldn't matter, that I didn't matter." "You matter," he said firmly. Ji-yoon looked up, tears brimming. "But now it's too late. You have Soo-mi?" Min-seok exhaled, a tired smile playing on his lips. "No, I have confusion and betrayal. I have someone who used someone else's feelings to try to get something she didn't earn." He sat beside her. "I did not say yes to her, because something fell off. I thought it was me. But now I know it wasn't her words. They were yours." Silence. Then Min-seok reached into his pocket and pulled out a small note, one Ji-yoon had written in the diary. "I just want someone to see me, even when I'm quiet." He looked at her. "Well, I see you." Ji-yoon's lips trembled. "I should have noticed you sooner," he said. "But I want to now. If you'll let me." She tried to speak, but burst into tears instead. He smiled gently, reached out, and wiped her cheek with his thumb. "Hey," he whispered, "no more hiding." Soo-mi stood at the door. She had followed him, of course. Saw them sitting together. Saw Ji-yoon cry and Min-seok lean closer. She clenched her fists. Later that day, She cornered Ji-yoon in the hallway. You really think this changes anything? Ji-yoon turned calm. It already did. You're not like me, Soo-mi hissed. You're not popular. You're not bold. I don't need to be like you, Ji-yoon said. I just needed to be honest. Something you don't know how to be. Soo-mi scoffed. You think he's going to stay with you? He never started with you, Ji-yoon replied, stepping past her. Soo-mi didn't follow. For once, Ji-yoon walked taller. Not louder, just stronger. Rumors began to spread quickly. Min-seok returned Soo-mi's gift and asked her not to follow him anymore. Someone saw him and Ji-yoon walking together after school. No way. That quiet girl. Honestly, I think it's kind of cute. Ji-yoon heard them all. For once, it did not make her want to disappear. Because when Min-seok passed in the hallway and took her hand, gently, without pressure, without pretending, everything else faded. Even Soo-mi, especially Soo-mi. Min-seok leaned close and whispered, You said once that you didn't need me to be perfect, just to be real. So this is me, real. Ji-yoon smiled, eyes shimmering. So am I? The morning sun hit the rooftop floor in golden stripes, the wind playful, tugging at blazers and hair like it, too, was part of the story. Students gathered near the edge of the school rooftop, whispering, laughing, gasping, because something was happening, something no one had expected. Kang Min-seok stood at the center of the rooftop, and he was not alone. Beside him, Seo Ji-yoon looked nervous but unshakably present. Her hands were clenched, her eyes wide, but not with fear, with clarity, with courage. Below, in the courtyard, students craned their necks. What's going on up there? Wait, is that Min-seok and Ji-yoon? What is happening? Ji-yoon's heart thundered in her chest. She wanted to disappear, but she also wanted to be seen. She had lived too long in shadows to step back now. Min-seok looked at her, his hand brushing gently against hers. And then he turned to face the watching crowd. I have something to say, he said clearly, his voice carrying over the rooftop. Soo-mi was at the front of the courtyard, frozen, her expression unreadable. Min-seok continued, I've been admired a lot in this school. People like to say I'm perfect, that I always smile, that I always do the right thing. He paused. But being admired is not the same as being seen. Murmurs rippled through the students. He turned to Ji-yoon. This girl has seen me, not just the grades or the clubs or the smiles. She saw me when I was tired, when I was struggling. She saw the parts one never showed, and she never asked for anything back. Ji-yoon's breath caught. Min-seok smiled gently. It took me 3 years to notice her, but she never stopped noticing me. He turned to the crowd again. So I'm not hiding anymore. This is the girl I like, the one I choose. Silence, then whispers, then a wave of gas and cheers as Min-seok reached for Ji-yoon's hand and laced his fingers with hers. Ji-yoon's eyes flooded, not because she was shocked, but because for once the moment she had imagined had truly happened. Min-seok leaned close. Can I kiss you? She nodded, barely. Their lips met softly. No grand gesture, no spotlight, just quiet truth. And that kiss silenced everything else. The noise, the doubts, the fear, all gone. Later that day, Ji-yoon walked down the hallway, hand in hand with Min-seok. Students stared. Some smiled, others whispered. But Ji-yoon did not shrink. Soo-mi stood near the vending machines, arms crossed. Ji-yoon looked at her once, but said nothing. Soo-mi broke the silence. You got lucky. Ji-yoon's voice was calm. No, I just stopped being afraid. Soo-mi looked away. Ji-yoon turned and walked on. She did not need revenge. She had something better. She had herself back. In the weeks that followed, things slowly settled. People got used to seeing Min-seok and Ji-yoon together. They shared notes, ate lunch on the rooftop, Studied in the library. Nothing dramatic. Just real. The kind of real Ji-yoon had dreamed of in her diaries. One afternoon, Min-seok brought her a small notebook. "What's this?" she asked. "A new one," he said, "in case you want to keep writing. But this time, maybe you can write about things we do together." Ji-yoon smiled, fingers brushing the cover. "Actually," she said, "I think I'll let this one stay blank for a while." He raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because I want to live the story first." Min-seok grinned and bumped his shoulder gently into hers. And as they walked away together, the sun dipped behind the school building, casting long shadows behind them, but never over them, because from now on, Ji-yoon walked in the light, and she was no longer afraid to be seen.